right, so let's talk a little bit about how marketing has changed in our lifetime. So I'm getting close to 50 and I've seen lots of differences. So 20, 30 years ago, people in real estate, how did they market?
It was really interesting because back in the day, before real estate changed, the market was really controlled by realtors.
Yep.
So if anybody wanted to buy a home, they had to use a realtor because only realtor had access to the data of what homes were for sale. So I actually remember when I was getting into the business in 2003 is when I started, but we were just coming out of that era. So I remember we had a big listing book.
It was a book, right? Yeah.
In the office where we'd keep all of our listings. And if agents wanted to show it, they'd have to contact the office and say, hey, do you have a listing in this area? And say, yes, we do. This is how much it is. Is it still available? And then they'd have to get in their car, come to the office and pick up the key. And we'd have a big locker with keys to each property. And we'd give that agent the key and we'd take their business card and we'd put their business card on the hook.
Wow.
And then they would go and show the property and then they'd come back and drop the key back off to us. But that was just in 2003. So the industry has changed a lot since then because now we have electronic lock boxes that we put on properties where agents don't have to be bothered. They could just show the home on their own. We have a multiple listing system that any consumer can now, through reciprocity and antitrust laws, now any consumer can look at any listing that's for sale through other vehicles like Zillow and Realtor.com.
So how we've done business has changed drastically.
I mean, this has all happened just within the last 25 years.
And marketing has also changed drastically too. So
that goes along
back there it was maybe newspaper ads. I think I saw newspaper ads like a house for $7,000 from like the 1950s or something.
So it was always the newspaper ads that would go out.
Yeah.
And then of course you had the traditional postcards that would go out.
Yeah.
And
maybe radio.
Yeah, you had some people doing radio stuff, and we used to have, those little leaflets that would come out too. Like it was a weird little these little community newsletters where people would post in. You'd have people doing the traditional phone calls, which still to this day works.
That's like outsource. Yeah, that's more like outreach where that's different than marketing. People. Yeah, like calling FSBOs, expireds, or your sphere of influence. That's the outbound stuff that hasn't really changed. But marketing, I mean, who reads newspapers anymore?
Or even bus stop benches. You'd see a lot of realtors that would just dominate these bus stop benches. And it was a lot of print media that was used back in the day.
I remember my first home I bought, I just saw an office, a real estate office, and I went into the real estate office and there was an agent on duty. How is that something that happens?
That's almost a thing of the past too, because now all the agents are working from home or in the cloud because we have these little devices here where we can literally...
Let's change how agents work too.
Yeah, I mean, literally everything you need is on your phone. But
no one walks in. We're here in downtown Orlando with tons of walk-by traffic every single day and not... in 6 months, if one person walks in.
So it used to be that agents had to come into the office because they had to use the brokerage's printers for color copies or prints because they didn't have the printers that you bought at home were very expensive and the ink was very expensive. So they'd have to come in here to make copies and prints for their flyers for open houses and stuff that they would tack up everywhere. They'd have to come in and use the broker's computers for the technology and stuff. But now because technology's gotten a lot cheaper, a lot of the agents have their home offices outfitted with everything they'd possibly need.
As far as marketing goes, though, one thing that hasn't changed is that you want to be where the attention is. You want to be where the eyeballs are.
Correct.
So back in the 1980s, I remember my dad always got the newspaper every morning and went through the newspaper. So that's where the eyeballs were. Everyone had newspapers, right? The radio, we had the radio on AM, FM. So every time there was an advertisement on the radio, you have that. But we watched TV. There was commercials on TV. We saw billboards as we were going by around. So that's where the eyeballs are. Now, where are the eyeballs?
And I mean, that's absolutely true. Because I remember the biggest place for realtors and then this business is extinct now.
Yeah.
There used to be these magazines like Homes and Land magazine. And what agents would do is they'd spend a majority of their advertising budget would go towards advertising listings in these magazines that you would find at the entrance of grocery stores or doctor's offices.
I remember those well. They still have some. They're still around, but nowhere near as much as they used to be.
Usually they're in boutique places. Like if you're up in the Hamptons, maybe you'll see a magazine where it has like homes but these are like little boutique, little niche communities.
I've advertised in those once or twice.
But I've never seen them drop off a homes magazine in our office where it said, these are the homes for sale, and agents paid money to put their homes in those magazines. It just, I haven't seen it. The last time I saw it was like in, those little niche communities. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that business doesn't really exist anymore because now everybody's moved to online.
Everything. Yeah. It's pretty much everyone is now on their phones. That's where their eyeballs are everywhere you go. If you're in the car, all the passengers are in the car are on their phone. Our cameraman right now, Justin, he's got his face in his phone right now too, right? So everyone is always on their phone. Like he's looking at me like, did he just talk about him?
But and the crazy thing is, at first it started.
But it's true.
So it started out with those. You remember the .com, the whole explosion. So it started with these banner ads. So I remember when the internet craze and the .com stuff, it started banner ads. So a lot of agents were like, well, you know what, if I can advertise, let me just advertise on AOL and get these banner ads. So if somebody was looking up stuff, they'd see a picture of the realtor and it says, if you're looking to buy, click here, and it would redirect them back to the agent's webpage. That's kind of where it started. And now direct consumers were coming directly to the agent's website where they would advertise their listings digitally.
Yep.
And then Facebook came around, and Facebook was the first social platform where people were interacting socially. And somebody said, you know what? Why don't I just put a post of my listing on this social media site? It might get some attention or some eyeballs.
When I came into real estate.
Exactly.
Right around Facebook. Yeah.
And then Facebook said, wait, people are posting things. Wait a second. There's a way that we can monetize this. So then Facebook said, okay, no more posting stuff for free. If we can monetize this and forcefully put it in front of people who might be doing some key searches or, so then they found a way to monetize it by, paying for promotional
It was great.
And boosting.
Until there was regulations that changed it.
And then somebody complained about fair housing, that some of these ads were directed towards people instead of just general public. They were directing it towards certain demographics or income brackets.
So I was like, for example, putting it over one community and saying, hey, here's all the solds in this specific community.
Within
in the
1
last
mile radius.
It was like a 1 mile radius, and it was very relevant to that specific community. And then all of a sudden I had to go to 15 miles, which is like all of Orlando. So the effectiveness of it just went down. So then I had to change. But that Facebook was very effective there for a minute for advertising. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden agents were like, okay, well, Google ads, I'm going to do pay-per-click. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that if I pay Google, they'll put my website in front of people. When people do a search, my website will show up at the top because I paid for that, and then they'll be redirected to my site. Yep. So then from the banner ads went pay-per-click, and then after that, Instagram came around, and Instagram was just a photo site where people were just posting photos. Yep. And then they're like, well, you know what? I'll go ahead and post a photo of my listing, and people will see my listing, see it's for sale, and they could comment and I can get their information. And then Instagram started doing videos, and people were like, well, I'm going to start doing videos of my listings and video walkthroughs of my listing at an open house or drone video footage. And then they started kind of getting involved with that. And then now we have TikTok.
TikTok came along. I mean, I was one of the first ones on TikTok, and it blew up. I mean, people were laughing at me when I went but I missed Instagram. So I learned from that. I was only on Facebook, focusing on Facebook, and then Instagram came along. And then what happened was the demographics changed, and less people were on Facebook, and more people were on Instagram. And I missed that whole thing. So I didn't want to miss it again. So when TikTok looked like it was going to blow up, I was like, okay, I'm going to start posting on TikTok.
Yeah. And there's a lot of agents that do a lot of business just strictly from getting consumers directly off their Instagram page or their TikTok page, or, because they have a page, like, because TikTok or like Instagram, for example, they'll allow you to create a business page on there where you have a profile that's business oriented, where you can post things, and then you can actually pay to promote and advertise that page to other people who might be doing a search for hashtags or similar posts that you put up. And a lot of agents will, exclusively, they get all of their business from Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
Yeah. It's and YouTube's there as well. YouTube is a big part of my business right now. But there's like so many different streaming services, and I think it's important that you're on as many of the streaming services as possible in marketing in 2023, because people aren't, like, even the drivers aren't looking at billboards. They're on their phone when they should be like paying attention to driving. But you see, like, I always have to beep my horn because they're on their phones. So everyone's on their phones, and also they're on their phones when they're taking a dump.
I mean, that's gross, but it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, some people do that. And the thing is, if you can captivate someone's attention in their most private area, vulnerable moment, you're really effectively.
But that's realistic, and we have to understand what realistic is. Their eyeballs are on your video or your ad while they're in their most private areas, like having a billboard on their toilet.
I just got a great idea.
What
if I start like advertising on rolls of toilet paper, like Charmin?
That's interesting. I think they have toilet paper like that.
Oh, okay. Well, that just came to me.
But I don't think I want. Yeah, I don't know how that. Anyway.
So think about this. Like, yes, you're right. Even passengers in a car.
Yeah.
They used to sit there and look out the window because they were bored. Now, a passenger in a car is down in their phone.
Yep.
So if you look at your phone, you can scroll up and you could see your usage, your phone usage, on how much time you're spending on your phone. And if you can just capture someone's attention, that's where the real value, the real money comes from.
Yep.
And it all stems from data. So of course, these companies, they make a fortune just based off of selling data. And their data is, hey, if you want to market to this person and this demographic, this age range, this is what they're looking at. If you want to get your information in front of them, this is what it's going to cost you. Mm-hmm. So it's really powerful.
A lot of it's free. I mean, I've had videos on TikTok that have over 1 million views and didn't pay a penny.
YouTube, Instagram, it's
TikTok
all free.
and YouTube. Yeah. And actually YouTube, it pays you money.
Yeah.
So you could do different things. You can do home tours, or you can do what's like living in a specific area. And not only is it free,
it's a commercial that keeps living on for eternity.
If you get over 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, you start getting paid for it. And I mean, I make a couple $1,000s a month just from ad revenue. So.
And you still get, so for instance, like if you use any of these online social medias, you create content, and once it's on the internet, it stays there forever.
Yep.
So you have videos that you made 3 years ago that you're still getting people calling you on, and you're still generating leads.
It's an interesting one though, because it's like literally I made a video. I remember this house was $277. It was a next gen house, so it has like a home within a home, and it was $277,000 base. I get like 3 calls a week on that house. Now it's $433,000 at 7% interest. So instead of like $900 a month, it's $2,300 a month with the principal interest. But it's interesting, but you still get the people that call, and then you just tell them what reality is right now. Like, hey, that video is like 3 years old. I wish you called then, but this is what it is now. I still want to help you.
Still made you that connection.
Still want to help you. So there's still someone that's looking to buy a house, but but a good example is I might have done one on a really good neighborhood 3 years ago. Didn't get a single bit of business from it, and then 3 years later, I get someone that calls me. They end up buying a house, and I make $20,000 off of that. So was that video I made 3 years ago worth the $20,000? And then how about a year from now, someone else calls from that video, and 3 years from now, someone else calls from that video. So it just keeps on going.
Yeah, and I've had people that they have an Instagram on their Instagram page. They had something that they did a while back, and somebody comes across it and they share it. And once they share it, they might have been an influencer or have a lot of followers, but that person shared their video, and all of a sudden now, overnight they're like, "Wow, I just got 300 people who subscribed to my page, and this video just blew up." You never know when somebody will come across something or share it, or how it's going to come into the ether. But it's amazing how these free commercials, per se, is what it is. It's a free commercial. Yeah. How it might get, how somebody might come across it, or who might see it, or who might share it. But it's really interesting and unique. And we're always trying to figure out what's going to be the next wave that agents or realtors tend to jump on to advertise and market themselves or listings. The business is always evolving. So
it's evolving faster and faster.
It is.
Yeah.
So our main message to you is always be willing to adapt to the change that comes into your market, and always be looking for the next new wave that comes through, and be one of the first and early adopters for that, because if you do, you'll dominate once it becomes the new mainstream.
When I started TikTok 3 or 4 years ago, everyone was laughing at me. They're like, "Oh, what, you got to dance for selling house?"
You told me about it. I'm like, I think there's 13-year-olds on there just doing like TikTok dances. What do you mean you're going to do real estate?
Yeah, everyone was, and even now, today, 3 years later, when you're making lots of money from customers from it, you go into a real estate forum on like Facebook, where typically an older demographic now, because a lot of the young people have left to other forums, but you still get people laughing like, "How you really think you can make money on TikTok?" But they just don't know. They're ignorant, and they don't understand that people that are doing this and people that are first adapters are the ones that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, while the other people are laughing at them making nothing.
And you have to be open-minded, because a lot of times with TikTok, the early adopter realtors that took on to TikTok, they were getting a lot of their business because the 13-year-old girl was like, "Hey, Mom, Dad, look at this awesome house. It's right down the street. Check it out." And then they were showing their parents, and their parents were like, "Hey, where is this house? Our daughter just showed it to us. Can you show us?" So a lot of people were getting business that way, which is
marketing,
which is crazy. And people want to buy houses, and they want their family to be happy. So,
it's like marketing 101. For example, like McDonald's, McDonald's had the Happy Meal. So it's marketed to the kids, got the parents there. They sold more burgers than anyone else. So
yeah, so there you go. Make sure you adapt, be an early adopter, and always be looking for the next big thing.
Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.